Welcome to Penny for Your Shots, conversations and cocktails with brilliant women. I'm your host, Penny Fitzgerald, and I believe the best stories are the ones shared over a glass of wine or a cocktail. Each week, I sit down with women who've said yes to building something meaningful, often after years of putting everyone else first. We talk business, big dreams, and the mess in between. And of course, a few favorite drinks. So grab a glass, get comfy, and let's pour ourselves into Penny for Your Shots. Today, I'm chatting with Lena Nasserdeen. And if you've ever felt like you know you're capable of more, but something keeps holding you back, this episode is for you. Netta works with leaders and organizations all over the world, helping people build confidence, communicate better, and step into their potential. But what really stood out to me is her own story and how much of this work she's lived herself. We talk about self-confidence, mindset, leadership, and the very real ways we get in our own way. We also talk about busyness, boundaries, surrounding yourself with the right people, and why personal growth doesn't happen by accident. This is one of those conversations that feels encouraging, honest, and grounding all at once. Here is Lena Nasserdeen. It's great to meet you.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Wonderful. Would you tell us a little bit about you? Give us your name and what you do, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So my name is Netta like feta cheese, even though it's spelled like nada, Lena Nasserdeen. And I would say, I guess now Rauda, because I just got married. So I have
Oh,
another.
congratulations.
And I like to say that I'm a potential seeker. Really, everything that I do, my goal is to help pull out the performance and potential in organizations and in individuals. So I run a company. I'm the owner of a company called Rise Up For You. And that's what we do. We work with Fortune 5 companies, all the way from Google down to local entrepreneurs. And we help them become the top 10% in performance and their potential by teaching the skills that no one ever teaches us that make up most of our success. And that's the soft skills.
So when you work with someone, is it someone who recognizes that they need soft skills, or how do you find people?
No. So usually from a corporate perspective, it's companies that are struggling with communication, leadership that's not coaching and mentoring, right? Lack of leadership, lack of pipeline development. The performance of the team could be better. So they're doing great as a company, but they could be better. They could be closing more. They can be generating more clients. All that comes down to soft skills, not more knowledge, right? It's our job to kind of educate a company on that. But it's a lot easier for a company to see than it is for an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Usually individuals will come to us when they feel stuck, when they know that they're leaving opportunity on the table because of lack of self-confidence, they're constantly getting in their own way. Or we get individuals that just want to push their performance. Maybe they're a leader in their company and they want to be a better leader. They want to get promoted. They want to be seen, be heard, and be relevant. And they don't know how to do that.
How do you make a CEO or manager or someone who is in the decision-making place? How do you make them aware of the problem and, kind of guide them to being, okay, this is a soft skill, a communication problem that we want to work on? How do you determine that?
That's a really great question. My fifth book is coming out in a couple weeks on influential communication, and I talk about this in the
Nice.
book. Yeah. I will say this. Oftentimes when I'm in a meeting with the CEO, they already know there's a problem. That's why they're in the meeting. They showed up,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, okay, there's a challenge. It's my goal, and it's my responsibility not to convince them, but to help them digest what they think the problem is, and then
Mm-hmm.
present possible solutions that they potentially haven't thought about. So whenever I'm in a meeting, for example, and let's say I'm wanting to get a client, or I'm hoping that we can make an impact in their organization through our work, I do a lot of listening and a lot of asking questions, right? So what's the biggest challenge that you have today? What have you done so far to mitigate that challenge? Why do you think it's not working? What do you truly think is at the core of it? Like I just ask a ton of questions. And then based off of that response, then from there I can say, here's the things that we've done in the past with clients similar to you, right? So I'm creating relatability. Here's what we've done, but more importantly, here's the outcome. Because especially
Mm.
with decision makers and CEOs and business owners, they need outcomes. They need to understand, if I'm going to invest six figures in training and development, what am I going to get back? It can't be zero, right? There's got to be some
Right.
kind of ROI. And if we can show to the CEO or the business owner that the ROI is going to be three times, four times, five times what they invested, the
Mm-hmm.
chances of them saying yes is very high. And
Mm.
that's really the goal.
That's great. Yeah, a lot of times I feel like this when you're working on soft skills, it's not necessarily an immediate return on investment. It feels like it's more of a cultural shift that happens first, right?
It's a little bit of both. It
Mm-hmm.
always has to start with the individual in order to make a cultural shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so we always say that we have to create the handshake. If an organization invests in their people, but they don't invest in their leadership, it doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've had those companies where we're like, okay, well, let's let the middle management get the training and the coaching, but we as the executive
Oh,
team are fine. And
no.
it fails. It bombs.
Yeah.
And actually today, we don't allow it to happen. When we work with companies, if the executive team is like, hey, we're like, nope, can't, it won't be successful. Or we give them a very strong warning.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong warning that if you also don't have some level of development, the chances of transformation are going to be difficult because your people are going to outgrow your soft skills. They're going to outgrow their leadership team. And then they end up turning over, right? Now, the
Mm-hmm.
same is true for an organization. We've had organizations that really believe in growth and development. They are willing to invest in their people, but they have some people on the team that just they don't want to grow. They just want to show up to work and make a paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
right? They don't believe in individual contribution. They're just like, hey, just let me do my job and leave me alone. And there's companies that also don't want that, right? They want people that want to be high performing, that want to have a growth mindset, that want to continue to learn and grow. And unfortunately, in those situations, those individuals end up getting pushed out or fired.
Mm. Yeah, that's tough because yeah, I've seen it on both sides. Really, the executive teams think they might have a handle on what the problem is, but really not know because you're in that grove of trees every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's kind of our job, is to help influence and show them the possibility of what the training can do. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
research shows that the majority of CEOs understand that soft skills are the number one skill that they need. In fact, most CEOs would say that emotional intelligence is the top skill, but only 27% actually invest in it. So that you see there's a disconnect there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's our job to help create that connection again and help them recognize that when you invest in it, your investment most of the time will five times the investment if it's done right.
Yeah, I believe it when everyone's on board and pushing in the same direction or working together to go in the same direction. That I think you could probably create some really good
Absolutely.
outcomes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've seen it. We have a 95% repeat client rate.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and it's only because part of these skills is the delivery of them too. So it's not just teaching content, but it's understanding how to teach the content in a certain order with a certain amount of deliverability and diversity and with
Mm-hmm.
experience. Like all these elements have to come into play in order to truly create transformation and coaching, training, leadership retreats, whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. The implementation of what you've just learned, it has
That
to happen or it doesn't stick.
has to. And it has to happen during the learning process.
Mm.
So, I always compare soft skills to the fitness industry because it's just the most simplified comparison. If I go to the gym and I go to the gym for 8 hours in one day, I would have earned the day, right? I'd have been like, oh my gosh, that was the most exhausting day. I earned it. I made it through 8 hours. I'm sweating, like I feel amazing. And then that's it. It's going to last that day. And you might be sore for a day or two after that, right?
Oh
So,
gosh, that's optimistic.
right. So the shift, like the consequence or the result of that 8 hour day is like maybe 2, 3 days. Okay. But it doesn't stick. You don't lose weight. You don't see muscles all of a suddenly appear because you weren't consistent. You just did one shot and one shot's
Uh-huh.
not enough. And it's the same with soft skills. So you got to keep going to the gym at least 3 to 4 times a week. You got to use the muscles, exercise the muscles. You can't just watch the trainer. If I had a fitness trainer and they demonstrated a push up and I said, yep, awesome, I totally get it. I get what it's not going to do anything for me. I'm not going to all of a sudden build these muscles. I have to get down on the floor. I have to watch the posture, implement the push up, and then God knows if you can even do a push up. So then it might take 6 months to like build the muscle to do the push up, and that's really the process that soft skills goes through as well. And that takes repetition, consistency, open mindset, takes all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Consistency for sure. Okay. Netta, you mentioned books. You
Yes.
mentioned your fifth is coming out soon. Tell
Yes.
us about the other four. Can you give us an overview or
Absolutely. I
walk
have the
us through
fourth one
them?
behind me. I have them behind me. So the first book I ever wrote was called Rise Up for You, Closing the Gap Between You and Your Potential. And it really came out of my own personal story and my own personal, um, I would say, tragedy that became triumph. So everything that I talk about today and all the skills that my team and I teach and train on, I used on myself. So before I built Rise Up for You, I was a performer. I used to tour the world internationally as a singer and a dancer. And quickly after being a performer, I performed for about 8 or 9 years. I moved on to becoming an executive for an education corporation. And in the evening, I was a professor at a community college. And in every industry that I've ever been a part of, I saw that the biggest gap was with people. So a lot of my time, a lot of my energy was spent on solving people problems. So lack of communication, poor leadership, ineffective self-management. Even with the students at the college, they would rather take an F than raise their hand and ask a question because they didn't want to look dumb.
Oh, wow.
So this is where I really started to see the gap, but I didn't do much about it. I only just contributed in my own way. So as an executive, I would try to coach and lead. As a professor, I created a life skills course that didn't exist at the college. I went to the dean. I was like, we've got to help this because this is a problem. And year after year, I would see it. And then I
Mm-hmm.
went through my own personal tragedy. And they say that when it rains, it pours. So I decided to resign from the company after 5 years of being an executive, and I moved out of the country for an opportunity called marriage. And yeah, and on the first day of our honeymoon, my husband said he wanted a divorce, and so I went from a
What?
six-figure executive, house on the lake, brand new luxury car, all these things we think are success, to $100. That was it, and two luggage, and a broken heart, and so much confusion and devastation. And I literally thought I was in a movie. I had no idea what just happened.
Oh my God.
I thought I was pranked. So
Uh-huh.
I get back on a plane, and I'm crying and bawling, and my father comes to me in my dream. My dad died when I was 27, so he wasn't around for this situation. And he said, Netta, everything you need is already inside of you. You just have to rise
Mm.
up for you. So that's when I got back to California and I just started the company Rise Up for You. I knew nothing about it, didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. I knew nothing about business, but I just believed in my ability to build. It's like, okay, I'm going to build Rise Up for You. 3 months later, my mother, my second parent, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He died 9 months later. So
Oh
I
my
was,
gosh.
at the time I was 31, turning 32. I was going through a divorce, just buried my second parent, and I was buying my groceries at the 99-cent store.
Mm.
Now, the reason why I share all of that is because, again, the skills that we teach today are the skills that I used on myself to write the book. So that's where the book came from, the first book. It's basically that journey and that story, and then the skills I used to overcome it, to write the book, and then to continue to grow the company. Today, we're in over 50 countries with our presence and our message. And I have a team throughout North America, both in Canada and in the US, and we're going in and we're making an impact through these skills. And so the other 3 books are our method. So the 4 books are basically our method, Penny. So
Okay.
we've built a proprietary framework called the Rise Power Up Method. And these
Mm.
are the 4 skills that, through our experience, through our research, that we find create the biggest shift and impact in every person and organization. So the first pillar is self-confidence. So the book that you see behind me is all on
Hmm.
self-confidence. The
Okay.
second pillar is in emotional and social intelligence. The third pillar is transformational leadership. And then the final pillar is influential communication. At each one of those pillars, we've built our own curriculum, our own strategies, and our own content that really move the needle. And in that order, because the first thing we need is self-confidence, and the highest level of a soft skill is influence.
Mm. Right. You know, the women that I coach, mostly entrepreneurs,
Yeah,
they want to scale their business, they want to create an impact for people, but they've got something that's holding them back, and they need that confidence
confidence.
to push through it. Yeah, you can give them all the technology, all the tools, all the
Doesn't
systems in the
matter.
world. Yeah, if you're not prepared or willing to
100%.
push yourself, or to, get beyond that comfort zone, that
Absolutely.
barrier. Yeah.
Absolutely. And most people don't know that 83% of professionals say their number one challenge is self-confidence.
Mm.
83%. So that's
Mm-hmm.
only 17. And that's why I wrote my first book, Closing the Gap Between You and Your Potential, because I thought if I can do this and am at the bottom, anybody can do it. But
Mm-hmm.
not anybody does it because they get in their own way and they allow their beliefs to dictate
Yes.
their behaviors. And
Mm-hmm.
I always say that your thought could be just that. It could be just a thought. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be your truth, which then becomes your reality. It doesn't have to be. And there's so many amazing entrepreneurs. We have a lot of clients that are entrepreneurs as well that do amazing work. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
can be multi-million dollar companies, but they're not. They're only $100,000 company because of what they've chosen to believe out of their mind. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, like you really can be something great, but you got to believe it. Now, it's not enough for me to tell you. You got to actually start taking the
Mm-hmm.
and rewrite the narrative that you have in your mind so that you can continue to take steps forward because your beliefs will always dictate your behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Penny, I'm passionate. This is the topic that just lights.
Yes, me too. Me too. Because yeah, it's hard to watch someone else when you know that the potential that they have, but they don't see it for themselves.
Absolutely.
And bringing that out in them and seeing it, it's really rewarding to see them, blossom and transform.
Yeah,
But like for you, going back to your transformation, that you believed in yourself, you had to, right? I mean, you kind of were it feels to me from the
yeah,
outside looking in that you were at a point where if I don't make this happen, it's not going to happen for me, or no one's going to come and save me. I have to do it.
correct. And a lot of it was already built in me when I was a child.
Mm,
And that's
hmm.
really important, I think, that I want listeners to understand because there's a lot of listeners that are parents. And I recently became a parent as well. When I got married, I became a mom. I have, three amazing stepkids, which I don't consider my stepkids, but I have three
Hmm.
amazing kids. And, I realized that when you teach self confidence and when you build self confidence, when you are at your bottom, it's not impossible for you to get back up because you believe in yourself and you recognize that your circumstance is doesn't have to be your future. And so
Hmm.
I always say, like, I could have easily just went and applied for another job and then just, fell into the normal trap of like, okay, well, I lost everything. Let me just go get a job. Let me just go apply for
Hmm.
another job. Let me just go do this. But no, I decided to take a really difficult path of entrepreneurship, which anyone that's an entrepreneur, is like not easy.
That's right.
It's, you work 100 hours, in a day sometimes, even though there's only 24 hours.
Feels like it for
Right.
sure.
And so and it was because of my self-confidence. Like I remember being at my absolute lowest and thinking and coaching myself and saying like, Netta, you are enough. Like everything that you just went through is not who you are. It's not your identity. It does not mean that you're worthless. Like you have the ability to learn, you have the ability to get back up. Like let's make it happen. And that is really, really important for anybody because the reality is like, God forbid, I could lose everything tomorrow and I have to believe in my ability to build it all again.
Absolutely. Yeah, circumstances can change. Your life can shift and you might lose a job. You might, go through some tragedy, but nothing can be taken away from you. Your experience, the knowledge that you have, your attitude, your mindset, all of that, none of that is taken away.
Yeah, Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why the foundation is so important.
Mm-hmm. How do you keep that up day after day? Like when you're in the thick of it and you're growing and trying to, do all the things as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
it's really hard some days, and it could be multiple days in a row that are hard. How do you, as an individual, um, psych yourself up and give yourself that self talk, that coaching that you
Yeah.
need to stay positive?
Well, first thing is I surround myself with amazing people because Jim Rohn said it. This isn't my quote. You're the average of the five people you spend the most time with.
Yep.
And so if you're surrounded by confidence suckers, people that suck the confidence out of you, that don't believe in you, that have poor belief system, you will start to fall into that trap. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't believe in canceling people out. Like I don't believe in cancel culture and canceling people out of your life, but I do believe in really strong boundaries. And so I have a lot of really amazing people that are in my circle that we constantly cheer each other on. We call each other the Fabulous Four. We have like this WhatsApp, four of us in there.
I
And
love it.
every morning it's like, hey, I finished my workout. I'm about to do this. I'm about to hit the day. And like just every morning we text and we're very like positive. And if there's something that does go wrong, then we are able to coach each other, and we also coach ourselves. Like I coach myself when I have a lot of negative thoughts. We all do. It would be silly for me to say that I don't have self-doubt. Like that's just not true. And if anyone says
Mm-hmm.
that they don't have self-doubt, that's not true. Red flag.
Right.
But I've learned how to coach myself through that. And I have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of conversations with myself. So if I have a negative thought, I'm like, Netta, what is this thought? Like, why do you have this thought? Where is it coming from? And how is it serving you? And I actually say it out loud to myself as if I'm sitting in front of a person, because there's
Mm-hmm.
power in saying it out loud, and there's power in like getting it out of your system and then talking through it as if there's a Netta sitting across from me. That helps.
Absolutely.
I work out, I do things with my body, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. Your brain doesn't know the difference between,
No,
the words that you think. And yeah.
absolutely.
Well, and you have your hype girls and they're also your accountability buddies, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So
That's great.
that's really important, and I think
Oh,
that
for sure.
I think people underestimate the power of having a strong circle, because I'm telling you, your circle can sink you faster than anything if you don't have the right people in it.
Mm-hmm. And they can raise you up.
That's right.
They're the right ones. Yeah, it's so important to have your girlfriends, especially the older we get, the more important it becomes. I read a study recently that having girlfriends around you as you age is as important to your health as quitting smoking.
I believe it. I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because as you get older, you get busier, right? You
Oh,
get
you do.
more
It's
abundant,
weird.
right?
Yep.
Right? You get more abundant. I always laugh when like the 20-year-olds like, I'm so busy. I'm like, oh, just wait until you're
Yeah.
rich and you have kids. It's like, because it's a mindset, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I find that as you get older, finding the right circle that also has a similar mindset around life. Like I believe that busyness is a mindset, right? And busy blocks your
Mm-hmm.
blessings.
Mm-hmm.
So finding a circle that also has a similar belief where it's like, yeah, like you could be a mom and you could be a great wife and you could be an entrepreneur and you can make great money and you could take care of your body and be a good citizen and be a philanthropist, and you could do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Is it easy? No, but you can have it all. And
Well,
I think it's important to find people that have those similar beliefs.
absolutely. I'm a lot of the women I coach also have that busyness. They have to do it all. They feel like they have to take on all these things. And it's just a tool, it's a mechanism that keeps them small,
Yeah.
because then they don't have to get uncomfortable and go do the thing that they really, really, their soul is urging them to go do.
Yes.
But they're too busy. I'm too busy. I'll get to it when things calm down,
Right.
when the kids graduate, when the blah, 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 blah.
Right. Right.
Never
And that
comes.
absolutely. And that's translation for it's not a priority for me.
Right. I'm not a priority for me.
Exactly. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's really sad to watch that. But it happens all the time. I mean, women are so busy putting one foot in front of the other,
Yep.
going to work, doing all the things, keeping the kids going, bringing taking them to their activities, and then they're out of the house and you're still too busy to
Yeah.
do the thing.
Right, right. And again, that's why I say it's a mindset, because it doesn't change until you do. And I always say, like, you just got to have a system. Like the most successful companies in the world have a well-oiled machined system to run the business.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we have one for our own personal life? Like we're so quick to put meetings on the books for a business, right? Like, oh, I have a meeting, I have this, I have that. Well, why don't you do it for your life? And then you'd be surprised how much you actually put in, right? I always
Mm-hmm.
say, whenever I do my keynote and I talk about self-confidence, I talk about like making time for yourself, right? And committing to yourself. And I always say there's 168 hours in a week. Okay, 168. Now, if you slept 8 hours a day, which most people don't, I do.
Uh-huh.
But if you slept 8 hours a day, 8 times 7 is 150 is 56 hours, right? 56
Uh-huh.
hours. So 56 minus 168 hours, you're at 112 hours. So we got 112 hours left. Now, if I were to work, let's just say 60 hours a week, right? What's 60 minus 112? Right now I'm down to about 52 hours. If I did the
Mm-hmm.
math right, 52. So, okay, I work 60 hours, I sleep 8 hours a day, and I still have 52 hours left. Where's it going?
Mm-hmm. Instagram.
Instagram, lollygaggling, like
Yeah.
walking around and then realizing that you don't know what you did, sitting on the couch. I mean, whatever it is, there's no
Yeah.
judgment, but there are 52 hours left where you can probably take 15 of them and write the book that you always wanted to write.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Or take even 4 of them and work out, because you don't need to work out more than 30 to 45 minutes a day, right? 4 hours a week to spend on your
Mm-hmm.
body and your mind. But the challenge is that most people don't create a system for their life. And so they go through the whole week and they're like, what did I get done?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How many times have we been there where the week goes by and you're like, I have no idea what I did?
Yep. I
And
mean, you felt very busy. You did all the laundry, you did dishes, all those things. But what moved the needle? A lot
exactly.
of people don't even remember what the needle was. What was the thing that I wanted to do?
Right. It's so true. Yeah, it's very true.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that all that to say that anybody can truly build a life that they're proud of. They just got to set themselves up for success. And it's really not rocket science. The most successful people in the world are all doing the same thing. All we need to do is just follow. We just got to follow it.
Mm-hmm. Well, find the one that feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find a coach.
Find a coach.
Find a system.
I'm
Talk to
a
your girls.
believer in finding a coach. I mean, we do coaching and I have 2 coaches, because
Mm-hmm.
no matter how great you are in something, you still cannot see outside of yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And you might have a handle on what you think it is that's holding you back, but until you have some outside eyes, someone who's brilliant, someone who's 10% ahead of you, you know, looking back
Exactly.
at, what you're doing, they can see, oh, have you tried this? They can ask the right questions so that you start understanding what's happening.
100%. Yep, I agree with that completely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What have I not asked you that you would love to share?
I don't know. I'm an open book, whatever calls to you, whatever comes.
Yeah, we have so much in common. I feel like we're very much in sync with the way that things that we believe and the impact that we want to have.
Yeah, I can tell from the photos in your background. I was going to tell you when I first jumped on the
Oh,
podcast, I like the photos in the background because that tells me that you're very connected to family. And I could see that some of them are they're older in their look.
yeah.
I have similar ones as well. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. In the very back, that's my dad, his 16-year-old.
Yeah,
He was catechism graduation.
love that.
Yeah, he was born in 1916,
Wow.
and I had him until he was 3 weeks shy of 103.
Whoa.
I know. I was so lucky. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, super fun. Yeah, I learned a lot from him, and well, mom too. But
No, I believe it. Yeah. Well, fathers and daughters always have a different relationship, I think,
yeah,
than mom and daughters. Like my parents were amazing. They both contributed highly to who I am today. They left the best of them with my brothers and I. But oftentimes when I think about certain things, my dad pops up. Like it's things that, I had with my dad, ironically
Hmm.
enough.
Yeah. And you lost him young, right? You were 26,
I was 27. I was 27.
27.
I lost him, and I was 31, just turned 32 when I lost my mom.
Oh, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because, as an adult, that's when you realize, oh, I should have asked them this, and you don't think of that when you're younger.
And that's also when you realize how amazing of a job they did. Like
Yeah.
that's when I was in my late 20s, I started to realize, oh, I don't think everybody had similar parents. Like you don't
Yeah.
know, you don't know
Right.
until you get older, and then you see your friends and you see the decisions they made, and then you see what's happening, and you're like, oh, you didn't learn this? Your
I
parents
know.
teach you how to love yourself. You
Mm,
realize that like that is not common. So it really wasn't until my late 20s that I realized that my parents were special people, and I was very I say that God blessed me the second I was born with the parents that he gave me.
that's amazing.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
awesome. They were
I
awesome.
don't think you realize either. I didn't realize until I was older what great humans they were.
That's
You
exactly
just think of them as mom and dad, but
yeah,
their lives before kids was pretty
yeah.
remarkable.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what made them great parents. I was listening to a podcast about parenting because I often reflect on like who I am today and what was the contribution of it. And one of the podcasts, somebody is a parenting expert, and they said the best parents are the ones that are just really great teachers. Like
Mm,
they just believe in teaching and teaching, what's good for you and good for humanity and good for the world. And my parents were like that.
hmm.
They were just great teachers. Even if I did one thing, they'd be like, why, tell me why you did that. What was the thought process?
Oh,
Even when I'm like 10, why did you make that decision? And they really got me to critically think, but they were just great teachers.
oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great. You grew up in California?
I grew up predominantly in California. I was born
Okay.
in Pennsylvania, over by the Quakers, knee deep in Pennsylvania. And then when I was 5, we moved to California.
Okay. Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I landed now today, I land in Las Vegas and Edmonton, Canada, actually, Edmonton, Alberta.
Oh,
So
nice.
back and forth. Hmm.
Okay. I am back and forth. I'm in Sarasota right
Okay.
now, Sarasota, Florida, and part-time in Iowa, Eastern Iowa, a little farm community.
I could see that. Yeah. Uh, Iowa is, especially during COVID, expanded a lot.
It what?
I said Iowa during COVID expanded a lot.
Really? I didn't even know that.
There was a lot of people, there was in housing and buying properties specifically in Iowa.
No kidding. I didn't even know that. I was stuck in my bubble. Oh, wow. Okay, can I shift gears on you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so at the end of my conversations, I love to ask my guests, what's your favorite cocktail or glass of wine? Do you have
Oh,
a favorite?
so I'll be transparent. I don't really drink. I, I drink maybe like once a year during New Year's or maybe at a wedding. And
Uh-huh.
I'm a Riesling girl. Or Moscato. I like the really sweet wine.
Oh,
That's all I can handle.
yep.
What it's called. I think it's called Barefoot. It's the
Yeah.
Moscato with the two little feet. Is that what it's
Yes, that's barefoot. Uh-huh.
If I drink anything, like I said, maybe once or twice a year, it's that.
Okay. You, that's funny. Okay, so I used to be a wine judge too. It's COVID kind of put an end to a lot of the judging competitions that I did, but there was one in they're all blind. You don't know what you're tasting, but Barefoot Moscato was an award winner across the board.
It's so good and it's so cheap. It's like $8.
It's not
Like
very
$8.
expensive. I know. It's just, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm a
I
bit of a
love
wine snob.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the drier ones, but yeah. Well, and now mocktails are really having a moment. They're
Yeah.
really popular
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
festive.
When I go to networking events and stuff, and I
Uh-huh.
usually get like a mocktail or something non-alcoholic. I didn't even know
Uh-huh.
that's what it was called. I actually was like a month ago. I was like, "What's a mocktail?" They said non-alcoholic. I said, "I'll take it." So
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's still, it's a very festive, fun, fizzy something,
yeah,
they
yeah,
put
yeah,
together. So,
yeah.
mhm.
So it's cool. Mhm.
Very cool. Okay, so what's a favorite memory with girlfriends or family? Like, either on vacation or just
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah, I would say, well, a recent memory, my Fab Four girls and I,
Yes.
we just recently went to the Tony Robbins conference in California. We've never done
Cool.
before. I've never experienced Tony Robbins in person. We spoke at a virtual conference together, during COVID, but I've
Uh-huh.
never seen him in action. And I just thought it would be a shame if I didn't see him before this life was over, right? Especially
Mm.
as he starts to build his succession plan, because he is already building that with
Mm-hmm.
conferences. So myself and four of, three of my girlfriends, we went and we experienced the ultimate, what's it called again? His big conference. I can't remember what it's called,
Yeah.
but it was awesome. And that was for sure a great experience.
Oh, that's neat. One of my best girlfriends went to see his experience, I think
Yeah.
about a year and a half ago, and I think it was in Texas.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it transformed her business and her way of thinking about things. And did
Yeah.
you experience that too? Was it transformational for you?
I had moments. I wouldn't say that the whole time was, because a lot of the work that
Right.
he does, we also align with. And so there's certain things that, I've been practicing for a long time, just the nature of our company.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I really learned from him is his ability to influence on another level. I
Mm.
mean, he said things, I'll give you an example. He said things that my team and I often say the same concept, but he says it in a way that is
Mm.
so much more relatable and connected and simplified. And I remember for the conference thinking, wow, like we teach that concept, but we don't teach it like that. And
Mm.
that is more transformative than like this way. So I really understood, again, as I'm writing the book, Influential Communication, a different style of influence. And that
Mm.
that was very inspiring to see.
Mm. Yeah, that would be. So often back in the day when I had a team of 600 and some wine guys. I used to do wine tastings too and have a team and in doing the same thing. And you would coach and train.
Yeah.
And I would say one thing, like this is a great thing to do. This is a great way to do it. And nothing would happen. And then another leader would come in and say exactly the same thing.
And they were like
And they
jumping
would
for
do,
joy, right? Yeah.
yeah. Well, sometimes you just have to hear it from a different
Yeah.
perspective or from a different voice to even have it well, and sometimes from the same voice 6 or 7 times before it registers. I think we're all we're putting one foot in front of the other again and just
Yeah.
doing the things.
Absolutely. So that was a great experience.
I bet. Amazing. Did you do the firewalk thing?
I sure did.
Tell me about that.
And I wasn't like, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't afraid to do the firework of the firewalk. I was
Uh-huh.
just so tired. I wanted to get it done with.
Oh.
Because I don't because people don't realize that when you go to Tony Robbins conference, he works on his own time. Like there's no
Mm.
deadline. It's not, 10 to 9. It's 10 to
Oh.
11, Tony Robbins is done talking.
Oh.
So by the time we got to it was like 1 a.m. And I literally was like, I have no fear around the fire. I just want to walk on it so that I can
Oh.
go home.
Oh my God. That's a long day.
Yeah, and we did. We literally, my girlfriends and I, we had our backpacks and we ran to the fire so we could get there first because there was
Yeah.
15,000 people there, right? Yeah, there's 15,000
Oh.
people at the conference. So we were running at like 12:30 at night, right?
Oh gosh.
To get in line, and
Uh-huh.
then just like we literally were like, here, hold my backpack, and we walked across the fire. We're like, let's go home.
Let's go.
That's literally what happened.
Oh my gosh. Did you have to be there the next day or was that the culmination of the
Oh
event?
no, that was only day two, and it went for 5.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh my God.
yeah, yeah.
Exhausting, but exhilarating at the same time.
Exhausting, exhilarating, but he does it on purpose because he's basically showing you what you can do. It's like
Oh, wow.
I could push you to the end, right?
Uh-huh.
Getting from 9 to 1 a.m. It's like you can do this. You can be in a room all day learning, transforming, taking action, and then at the very end of the night still walk on fire.
Dang.
Right? Like he's very strategic in his process.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Sounds very fun though. Very
Right.
rewarding.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Netta, how do we find your books? Are they on Amazon?
They are. You can find them on Amazon. You can also just go to our website, riseupforyou.com. The books are there. All of our services are there. Of course, you can find them on Amazon as well. And then you can also connect with us at Rise Up For You. We're all over social media. We have a ton of free content. And then feel free to also connect with me, Lena Nasserdeen. I do my own Instagram and my own LinkedIn. So if you connect with me on my personal page, I'll be the one answering you.
Awesome. I'll put those links in my show notes too for
Great.
people so they can find them easily.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. This has been delightful, Netta. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Penny. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
That's a wrap on this episode of Penny for Your Shots. If you loved today's conversation, don't let the inspiration stop here. Get my weekly insider updates straight to your inbox. It's where I spill behind the scenes goodies, exclusive tips, and all the fun stuff I don't always share on the podcast. Sign up now at pennyforyourshots.com/insider. I'll see you in your inbox next Thirsty Thursday. Cheers!